Good morning to you, everyone. This is Mike Romali here with the Hurricane Outlook and discussion for September 22nd, 2019, recorded around 11:06 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Well, a lot to watch here in the tropics so far. We have Tropical Storm Jerry, which is expected to pass just subtly towards the west of Bermuda, and tropical storm watches could be issued for Bermuda by later today. We also have Tropical Storm Karen, which formed earlier this morning down here near the southern Windward Islands, and this is expected to impact the Windward Islands throughout the day today, and then Puerto Rico and the U.S. British Virgin Islands here by later in the week. And we also have Invest 90L, which will likely become Tropical Storm Lorenzo during the next day or so. Looking at Tropical Storm Jerry, this is still a tropical storm with 65 mile per hour winds moving north-northwest here at about 10 miles per hour. Here's the island of Bermuda right here, and this is expected to become pretty close to those islands. However, I'm not super concerned about the overall wind impacts with this. You could still have some wind impacts, and tropical storm watches are likely to be issued later today for Bermuda, but on the current forecast path, it is expected to pass west of Bermuda, so this is obviously pretty good news for Bermuda that you will not have to take another direct impact from a tropical system right after Humberto impacted Bermuda not too long ago. On the official 5-day forecast, you see once this exits Bermuda, once it passes by there, this is expected to harmlessly move on out to sea. Maybe generating some swells for the United States East Coast and the Canadian Maritime regions, but that is about it. Now, obviously, swells do have a pretty big impact, and can cause death with rip currents, so just be mindful of that. Taking a look here at the visible satellite shot for Jerry, you can definitely see still very disorganized. The center of circulation is somewhere right about in here. It has been sort of tucked in a little bit more of this convection during the day today, indicating that maybe some of the shear this morning has started to lessen up on Jerry as it continues off north-northwest here, and you can definitely see that in the visible satellite shot that we've seen from time to time. Convection tried to circulate around the center, which is right in about here. So this kind of eastern semicircle is with convection. The northwestern side of this and the northern side is pretty lackluster of any convection. Pretty much the whole western side is void of any significant deep convection. Regardless, Recon did find lowering pressures 999 millibars. That was down a couple millibars from last night. You can see certainly the pressure center is right about here, sort of on the convective list side. That is way too zoomed in. More so on the convective list side there on the northwestern side of this deeper convection. Recon did find a sliver of hurricane force winds in here, not enough for it to be upgraded back to a hurricane, but still strong tropical storm force winds here on the basically southeastern side from the center. We also are looking at Tropical Storm Tropical Storm Karen, not Jerry, Tropical Storm Karen, which is expected to remain a tropical storm. Very weak one, but is expected to remain a tropical storm for the next several days. And by early this week, probably by about Tuesday, this is expected to impact Puerto Rico. For that reason, all of Puerto Rico and portions of the U.S. Virgin Islands are under tropical storm watches at this current time. Those will likely be upgraded to tropical storm warnings throughout as time kind of progresses on. Right now, sustained winds are 40 miles per hour, moving west-northwest here at about 13 miles an hour. This will eventually turn off towards the north here. There is a weakness in the ridge that is also going to be the same reason why Jerry will eventually kind of scoot by Bermuda. There is that weakness in the ridge allowing Karen to sort of scoot off towards the north and impact Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. After that time, there is a little bit still of uncertainty with regards to the track here. You can see this is the 3-day forecast here at Wednesday, and this is the 4-day forecast here by 8 a.m. Thursday, but by 8 a.m. Friday, you notice something. This thing isn't moving much. And the reason why that matters is because this thing may actually get blocked by a high pressure ridge that will start setting up over the eastern United States and kind of close off this out to sea path. And what that might do is not only stall the storm, but it might make that quick left-hand turn. And some of the models are indicating that. We'll get to that here in just a quick minute. Looking at the overall organization, this is still rather disorganized. The center is probably roughly in about here, and you can definitely see it's almost kind of suffering the same fate that Tropical Storm Jerry is. But this is mainly going to be a sheared system for the next few days, and as such, I mean, there's really no intensification throughout this time. A lot of uncertainty here is going to remain. How much land interaction does this happen with How much land interaction happens with Puerto Rico? You can see this isn't expected to stay over Puerto Rico for a long enough time to really significantly weaken and kind of disrupt the overall storm. Here's 8 a.m. Tuesday, 8 a.m. Wednesday. This is increase in forward speed followed by a decrease then by Thursday and Friday. But as long as this remains sort of disorganized, there is a chance that this that the island of Puerto Rico may tamper the circulation and dissipate it pretty well, so much so as it's not really a tropical system out here. So that is a possibility, but at this current time, the National Hurricane Center is still going with the tropical storm throughout this whole entire forecast. Looking at the track forecast here, you can definitely see that this is expected to mainly pass on the eastern side on a pretty tight cluster on the eastern side here. The National Hurricane Center is still going mainly for sort of up and through the middle here. But the latest 12Z guidance does suggest that maybe sort of on the eastern side of Puerto Rico. And if that happens, then we won't see a whole lot of land interaction causing a significant disturbance of the system. After roughly about 48 hours or so, the track forecast becomes a little bit more complicated. With the high pressure ridge that will be setting up across the eastern United States, what happens with the track? Well, it's obviously blocked from going out to sea, and there's really only one member. I believe this is the UK Met model that is sort of trying to take this on out to sea. Every other model does have some sort of bend towards the left here. Currently, the National Hurricane Center has a more subtle bend to the left, but that could be stronger, or it could not be, and it could just be very subtle. Currently, the multi-model consensus, the TVCN model, showing roughly here about 120 hours, a very sharp, actually southwest dip here. The AVN, which is the, I believe that is the GFS model, the GFS consensus, or that is probably the AEM, I believe. But either one has a pretty sharp turn. Even the HORF, the HWFI model, which is the Hurricane Weather Research model, is also mainly bending it back towards the west. So a lot of bending back towards the west here with the high pressure ridge that's setting up. This is the GEPS tracks here, and you can definitely see that there's not a lot of out to sea members here. It is going to be something that the United States has to monitor. There's no discernible threat at this time to the United States. I want to make that very clear, that the United States, Bermuda, there's no discernible threat at this point in time. It is still several days away, well more than a week away from any impacts. You can see this, here's Friday, so we're well more into a week away from any potential impacts to the United States besides Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. But really and truly, the track forecast will become more solid here by later in the week. By the time we get to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, things will become a little bit more clear as to what's going to happen in terms of the high pressure ridge. And I'm sure the Weather Service offices across the eastern United States will be launching weather balloons, special weather balloons, to help out with Karen and its overall forecast. This does have some red flags on it, but again, there's a lot of time to watch. If this thing does move more west, you know, it's time to watch out. But hopefully this thing will move on out to sea and not really cause a problem. But right now, the indications are that this probably will not. So there's a lot of time to watch here. And that's kind of the good thing about these tropical systems, is that we have a lot of time to monitor. So again, for now, the main impacts are going to be for the southern Leeward Islands here, the southern Lesser Antilles, Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, those regions, and then Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands here throughout the next several days. Landfall is currently expected sometime on Thursday, either morning or afternoon, and then eventually move through Puerto Rico and then exit Puerto Rico probably by Thursday, early Thursday night, and then make it over into the Atlantic once again on Wednesday. So sort of trying to do what Dorian did almost in terms of the track and bend back towards the west. Will that happen? We don't know. Neither two systems can be really comparable, so a lot to watch with that. We also have to watch Invest 90L. This mainly will be an out-to-sea feature here, but for the Cabo Verde Islands right here, this could be a threat to them, as tropical storm conditions are certainly possible. Heavy rainfall is certainly possible for the Cabo Verde Islands. Once this exits, this should make that turn off towards the northeast and be of no concernable threat to the United States or anyone really for that matter besides shipping interests. Looking at the current overall organization here, you can definitely see that we have certain banding here. What might be a low-level center in here, definitely banding structures going on, so I would not be surprised to see this become a tropical depression or storm here, actually within a while, maybe as early as today or so. Keeping a watchful eye also on the Madden-Julian oscillation. This is the European model MJO forecast starting today through the 6th of October. And you can really see that this amplification here is going to be very significant in terms of the Madden-Julian oscillation. This overall envelope here is in an extremely amplified phase 1, which favors this portion of the world across here. That really favors that region. The 5-day forecast here, that favors this region across the Atlantic and also into portions of the Eastern Pacific. So a lot of lighting up could be going on across the board here, starting with the Eastern Pacific, which has been lighting up here over the past couple of days, and now the Atlantic is starting to feel that Madden-Julian oscillation shift from phase 8 into phase 1 and highly amplified. That right there is the sign of trouble. That is the sign of trouble for this part of the world coming within the next couple of weeks. And that is not to hype things up, but that is a significant Madden-Julian oscillation amplification into phases 1. And really coming out of phase 8 and moving into phase 1, models then basically keep it amplified into phase 1 for a while. Maybe sort of trying to sneak around here, or might end up in the null phase or go into phase 2. But right now this is entering still a rather anemically weak phase 1, but this will get extremely potent here over the next couple of weeks. This goes until October 6th here. So over the next coming days and weeks, this will become highly amplified into phase 1. And that is when we really have to watch this part of the world right here. You know, basically the western half of the Atlantic Basin is going to be extremely favorable for tropical systems, and even the MDR could still be producing some rather interesting tropical waves coming off. And you know, if they don't develop out here, you know, they get more west and develop in these regions. So a lot to watch here over the coming days. Again, we'll stay on track of that right now. Again, tropical storm watches in effect for Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. For Tropical Storm Karen, which will impact Puerto Rico by the Tuesday. Currently, right now, impacting portions of the Lesser Antilles here throughout the day today and tomorrow. We're also watching Tropical Storm Jerry for what impacts it may bring to Bermuda here over the coming days, with tropical storm watches that will possibly be issued later during the day. So a lot to watch here. Again, Tropical Storm Karen expected to impact Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands and the Lesser Antilles here over the coming days. Eventually may make a sharper left turn and become more of a problem over here. So again, we'll have to watch for that going forward. So a lot to watch here over the coming days. Again, I'll have another video discussion here by the 5 o'clock advisory regarding Tropical Storm Jerry and Tropical Storm Karen, and also touching over Invest 90L again at 5 o'clock. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you at the 5 o'clock advisory.